Hi, and welcome back to Let's Talk Somerville Real Estate. I'm Carey Gatto with Prudential Bucelli Real Estate, and my partner Chelsea is here with me from Prudential Bucelli Real Estate as well. And our special guest today is Rick Scherer, who is Senior Vice President of MSA Mortgage and one of our favorite mortgage specialists. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
It's a great opportunity. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for
really
being
appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is great. A great medium to get the word out about real estate. So, congratulations, guys.
And we just wanted to talk to you today a little bit about what's going on with mortgages today, and maybe a little bit about what to expect in the near future. First of all, let me ask you, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was
Because
good.
we're friends as well.
Yeah, it was really good. We opted out not to host 24 people.
Good.
2 weeks beforehand, we said, you know what? Why don't we just go up to Loon Mountain and the four of us,
That sounds like the
my two
better
kids,
option.
and it was probably the most relaxing Thanksgiving that we've ever had. So it was a nice, did some hiking and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Great.
thank you. Yeah.
Sounds like a great choice.
Yeah, it was.
So, back to business with mortgages. There's been kind of a big overhaul lately, a big
Very
change.
big, yeah.
They call it TRID, right?
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you or to the consumer?
Yeah,
even more
so
importantly?
TRID came really launched October 3rd of this year, and it really has been a big game changer in the mortgage industry and really all of real estate, because it doesn't necessarily just affect the mortgage process, but it affects when people can close and that sort of thing. And really, in a nutshell, what it is, and in my opinion, it was a really good move for the industry. We're just now trying to figure out how to get through it, but essentially what it allows us to do, or what allows the client to do, is get their closing numbers and all of that information really 4 days prior to the time that they have to sit down and sign all those documents. Historically, clients would expect that maybe the day before, and in some cases maybe an hour before. Yeah, well,
Or until the last minute.
what the
What the
number
numbers
is, and
Because then they have to run to the bank and get that big check.
right, bank check, or try to wire, or maybe if
Right.
they get it over and it's not right, and you need time to fix it and make the
Right.
corrections. So I think that it's a really good thing for the consumer, so that they can be educated, understand what the numbers are. But what comes along with that is obviously making sure that the client and everybody is really on their toes about getting the documentation into the lender.
Okay.
So when we first started this, and we said, hey, well, maybe we're really accustomed to closing loans in 3 to 4 weeks at MSA. So we said, well, let's go 45 days just to see how we can get this, because again, we have to clear the loan to closing, get them the closing figures way ahead of time.
Right.
Now, are you talking about accepted offer to closing, or are you talking about purchase and sale
Purchase
to closing?
and sale.
No, so
Can
I
you
mean,
give
when we used to be able to do from accepted offer to closing in 3-4 weeks.
Right.
Got it.
That we specialize in turning things around very quickly, so we can turn that around. So we went up 45 days, but
Really?
very soon after we understood how the process works, we're back doing 30-day
Really?
transactions.
That's great.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been as much of an issue as people. It seemed like people were dreading it in our industry.
Or
Right.
fearing it a bit, yes.
Yeah, like working up to the October 3rd deadline, there was a lot of kind of fear and dread about how it would affect everybody.
Right, and I
But
think
it
if
hasn't been that bad.
For our company, no, and I can only really speak to our company because I know
Right.
what our process is, and it's really forced us to be really laser focused on efficiencies, which I think we've always been pretty efficient, but really stepped that game up because the timelines moved up. But listen, there's a lot of big lenders out there. There's a lot of small credit unions and small banks that haven't quite figured it out, that don't have the turnaround time. So, I don't want to be misleading that every lender is turning loans around in 30 days on a purchase, or even 45 days. Some are out 60 plus days. And I'm hearing in the industry that it's a lot of the major big banks, because they're big banks. I call it I think we're more like a speedboat going down the river, right? We can turn on a dime and move quickly. Well, the big banks, and I even say the really smaller banks and credit unions are like a cruise ship going
Right.
down a river.
That makes perfect sense.
Don't really just turn as quickly as many. So I don't want to mislead everybody. I know what we're doing, and we're great with it. There are some lenders out there still struggling with the turn times.
Okay.
Yeah. One other thing
That's great advice, though, for buyers. You know, to really know your lender.
That's
and
right.
how they operate and how their whole system works.
One of the
Very true.
really important questions that borrowers or clients should, or buyers should be asking the lenders that they're looking to work with is, how are you going to deliver my closing disclosure to me? And the reason why this is so big is because the big banks are saying, well, we're going to mail this to you, which means they actually have to clear your loan 10 days prior to closing. Before you can close.
Right.
So if you're working with a big lender and they're requiring 10 days, well now, maybe you need, a 30-day or 45-day before that.
Yeah.
So that can really slow things down. The one thing that they want to ask and make sure that they're getting their closing disclosure via secured online. Where they can verify it. And now it's only 4 days. So you can pick up a couple of days working with a lender that's going to send it automated as opposed to in the mail.
Okay. So in your opinion, would you say it is a good time to buy from a financing perspective?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think, even if we're just looking at interest rates alone, interest rates are still very, very good. I mean, we're right around, and not to quote rate, but we're in that 4% 30-year fixed range of buying. And some of the major people in the industry, like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and National Association of Realtors, they're all projecting that in 2016 that the rate is going to be somewhere around 4.625, 4.75%.
In January, you said?
No, not in January, just next year. So
Some point next year.
Sometime
Okay.
yeah, towards the end of next year. So
Wow.
now when you're a buyer and you're looking at, and I've got a really cool tool that will allow you to look at it and say, okay, if I buy it 4% or if I buy it 4.5%, how much your buying power
Wow.
is. So
How much it
you could lose
changes.
$30,000 to $40,000 just in a 0.5%.
Wow.
If your budget was, let's say, $2,000, just that interest rate moving a 0.5% or even a whole percentage point higher, your buying power reduces. So just on interest rate alone, I think it's a great time if you're ready to buy.
For sure.
And then on the market appreciation side, I think we can certainly see that market appreciation is going to continue on for at least a couple of years.
So if the prices are going up and the interest rates are going up, you're going to find more of a struggle there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're going to find it more expensive to finance it, and then a property you looked at today to next year is going to cost maybe 3 to 4 to 5% more next year.
In terms of getting ready, since it is such a good time, do you have any advice for first-time buyers on things that they can do to really give them an edge or
get their ducks in a row?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And really getting all your documentation together. And when I say documentation, it's really just your pay stubs and W-2s and sometimes tax returns and pay stubs. Really getting that together. But I think a big misconception, and I think what I hear a lot of people say, I'm just going to keep renting because I don't have 20% to put down. So I'd love to just touch upon that for a second, because I love educating the consumer on it, because you don't need 20% down anymore. And a lot of people, the big evil word was PMI, private mortgage insurance. Well, I don't want to pay PMI. Well, guess what? You don't have to pay PMI anymore, and you don't have to put down 20% anymore, or monthly PMI, I should say.
That's amazing.
We've got programs that are zero money down. So if people out there are veterans, they're coming back, from Afghanistan, and they want to get into a property, there's no money down programs for them.
Wow.
and especially with rent on the rise, it really just doesn't make financial sense anymore to rent.
Absolutely.
Especially when, moving into a rental is almost like having a down payment, especially with these low down payment programs.
Right. First, last security.
Exactly.
You could be, $7,000,
You've got
$9,000, $10,000.
5% right there,
Right.
potentially.
Yeah, Mass Housing is a great resource. We're a preferred lender with them, and they help low to moderate income people. And when I say low to moderate, I mean income is around $128,000.
Right.
So
it's not so low anymore.
It's not so low anymore. But they'll allow 3% down. They have a no mortgage insurance option, which is great for consumers. They just launched on Veterans Day a new program called Welcome Home for the veterans. It's also a zero money down program that will help veterans, and
great.
it's a nice mirror to the VA loan, but there's some benefits to it where sometimes VA falls down and vice versa.
Right, so it's great to contact your lender and really look at all your options and not just assume, oh well, I don't have 20% down, and you got to explore all the options before you make an assumption.
Yeah, and I think when speaking with people and they say, well, I've got $5,000 or $7,000 to put down, and after talking with them a little bit and saying, okay, well, keep in mind that you can, if you have a 401k, you have the ability to take a loan against that. You pay yourself back the interest, but borrow against it for the use of buying a home. And a lot of people didn't know they could get gifts from family members. They could get a mom or dad or their brother. They can help them in the down payment part of it. Okay. So when you start to educate them on that stuff, they're like, oh, well, maybe I can get into homeownership
Lights
today.
start going off.
Yeah, and so that's great.
That's great.
That's awesome because, obviously we're believers in the importance of real estate. It's night and day between being a renter and paying someone else's mortgage.
Right.
To finally being a homeowner and building equity, and that's the best way to build wealth and security for yourself.
Yeah, and I also want to just bring up the fact that, listen, if you're going to be in town for a year or a year and a half or 2 years, rental still might be the best option for you. That's because you're in or out. But I think it's for the person that maybe he's coming into here for college and going to be here for 4 years.
Right.
Well, if you take a $2,500 rental payment over 4 years, it's almost $120,000 that you'll never see back.
And that's very common, especially in this area, in Somerville and Tufts.
Yep. What a lot of people don't understand too is they can buy a property even being in school and have their parents co-sign for them. So if their parents are going to be helping them with their rental,
they might as well help them with
right.
building equity instead of paying, building someone else's equity.
Right. Yeah, so we've got a really cool tool called the rent versus own analysis that we can run for people to say, okay, based on what your budget is for renting, what does that really mean if you wanted to buy a property, and what's the minimum down there too?
That's very cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But as far as getting your ducks in a row, I do want to give you guys a shout out, because I think that when your clients call us, they're probably one of the most educated group of clients that we get, because you guys are able to walk them through. So really they know what their budget is, they know where they want to be, they know what the documentation they're going to need, and when I'm asking them questions, they really have it right at their fingertips. So I just want to give you guys kudos, because I think you guys spend a lot of time in education, and obviously having a show like this where you guys believe in the education, it just makes the process so much easier,
so much smoother.
Well, it's also great because you've equipped us with so many tools like the ones you just mentioned, to educate the consumer, and like those buyer handbooks that we did together.
Yeah.
Those are an amazing resource, for the buyer to literally go through this guide step by step of what it means to write an offer, to the inspection process, and what they're going to need and want to know every step of the way.
Yeah.
And it's just nice for the buyer to have that kind of thing, because it is a big, it's a big commitment.
I would say to anybody that is getting ready, it's so important to have people like us who are part of a team and have worked together several times to streamline the process to make it easier for our consumers and our clients.
Right. I think the biggest mistake some people make is they try to do it all on their own.
Right.
Obviously our generation, we are big into the internet, we're big into knowing everything about everything. But I think,
bunch of know-it-alls.
Yeah, right. we are a bunch of know-it-alls. But I think putting the trust in a team. I see a lot of transactions when the consumer will go out and they say, okay, well, I found my lender, and I Googled this attorney, and so he's going to be our attorney, and I Googled this real estate agent, and I'm going to put this team together. You see a lot of things fall apart because there's all the more important moving parts. Really, everybody around you don't know each other. So by giving you guys a call and putting right in the middle of a team where the lender, the attorney, you guys are really quarterbacking the process.
Yeah.
I mean, our clients have walked around going, oh my God, like they said it was so hard, and you guys just made it so easy. And that's because of the team aspect. I think it's pretty important.
We talked about that a lot last week with Ali as well, just having that solid infrastructure.
And he talks so much about what happens behind the curtain and how much gets taken away from, or how much the consumer is blinded from, and how important it is to have people working on the back end that really understand the process and have done it together so many times.
Yeah, there was a statistic out there, and I apologize, I can't remember where it came from, but I think it's pretty legitimate, that someone that is really quarterbacking their own transaction gets 112 correspondence throughout the transaction, either emails or phone calls or things that they have to do. But when you have a team that's all working around you, it takes, I'd probably say 2/3 of that off the plate of the buyer. They've got enough to worry about. They've got enough things going on.
Mention their own full-time job, I would assume.
Right.
Right.
So that's a lot.
Of course. And I think, it is scary to think that a lot of times people don't know what they don't know, so there may be things that they are aware of and have had experience in, but because they're not doing it on a daily basis, they're not working in real estate day to day.
Right.
There's certainly going to be things that they might not be aware of.
Well, and just to touch upon that real quickly, I think over the last year or two, I've seen a lot of clients, a lot of sellers try to go at this alone and try to go at this without because, well, I think everybody hears that it's a seller's market.
The market's
Why
hot.
do I need a real estate agent? Why do I, I can do it myself, I can sell it myself. And, I think I've seen a lot of fails with them because I'm helping them on their purchase, but, this is going wrong or this is going wrong. I think having a real estate agent list your property is so key. I mean,
even if it's not with us,
right? Yeah, absolutely.
A good real estate
Always,
agent.
yeah. I mean, even if you are successful as a for sale by owner in selling your property, you're never going to know if you sold it for what it was really worth.
Yep.
You're always gonna. There's always going to be that doubt that maybe you could have achieved more.
Absolutely, and that's the
using
biggest
an agent.
downfall. And what I see is they either sell it for way under market and have regrets, or they put it for way over market and it just sits there.
Right.
And then you end up
Pricing is critical.
Yeah. Then they end up calling you guys. There was a statistic on Keeping Current Matters, which I know we track, where it's when a for sale by owner lists their own home, they leave about 19% on the table for not using it. Where your commissions might be 5 or 6%. There's a big spread there.
We've seen so many times. I can think of a recent scenario where a for sale by owner sold their property in the neighborhood, and the person who picked it up and bought it put it back on the market and sold it for $50,000 more. And it's just so sad to see that happen.
Right.
Yeah, they're just kind of been taken advantage of because they don't know what the market is.
Right. Yeah,
And that's that person's family home they had for decades.
It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
I think your specialty is if you guys let everybody know that property is on the market, anybody that's looking for a property like that. So,
and having a listing agent, it's our responsibility to protect their interests. So we're looking to help them and make them the most money possible. Right. So that's really, you can't go wrong.
And depending on, the heat of the market, the dynamics of the market, there are different strategies that you want to use, depending on all these factors, how you want to price it, how you want to show it. There's an art to it as well as a science.
Absolutely. And emotions.
Yeah, you gotta handle those too.
The sellers are doing their own open house and someone doesn't like the color of your carpet or their wallpaper.
Exactly.
That's a tough thing to hear, and having you guys there as a third party will help kind of smooth everything out. So.
And one other thing too, when we were talking about the importance of the team, is that I try to tell our clients that it's not just about the transaction. We want to continue to be a resource after the closing, and I know that you do that as well, So, and if your client wants to look at refinancing,
Right.
or whatever it
I
might
mean,
be,
just
you're
right
a
down even
resource for
to
them.
even just right down to getting a plumber that you
Exactly.
can
I was
trust.
just going to say, after the transaction's over, you need a new roof. 10 years later, you can give your trusted team a call and know that we're working with an entire sphere of trusted professionals.
Yeah, I mean, I think for first-time home buyers or new families, they don't have a will or trusts or estate plan, or someone to manage their money, or a CPA that will even help
So
them
important.
help them with their new taxes now that they've got this great big tax deduction called mortgage interest.
Right.
So I mean, we always encourage to give us a call, and you guys have that network to refer out.
We're always looking for great individuals too to add to our sphere.
Absolutely.
So that's a great
I
thing
just
to
recently
have.
had a buyer call me and ask, they're doing a bathroom renovation. She's like, what kind of tiles should we use? We're looking between this one and this one.
Right.
And I was so happy that she did reach out, because I was able to connect her with an interior designer, and we were able to tell her what we thought about the resale.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it
no,
was good.
it's I think referrals in this business, because we know there's goods and there's bads. People out there.
Yeah.
So when you get a nice referral, or be able to give out a nice referral to someone who does a great job, it's always
That's
pretty
our favorite
rewarding.
kind of business to get.
Right.
It's referral business.
Yeah.
For
So-
sure. So is it a good time to refinance?
Yeah,
to look
speaking
at that?
of, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's we are really busy right now with refinance transactions,
Really?
and it really a lot has to do with the fact that the Federal Reserve has pretty much announced that the federal funds rate is going to be going higher either in December or January. So
Wow.
I think what the psychological people are thinking that's mortgage rates. So they're calling us because they want to refinance before rates start to go higher.
Right.
The rates are going to start to go higher. We talked about that in the beginning. Mortgage rates are going to start to slant higher, but the Fed funds rate really controls home equity lines of credit, controls your credit cards and your car loans. It's really the rate that banks lend to other banks. So that's what the Fed funds rate is. And historically, what actually happens with that is when the Fed funds rate gets raised, mortgage rates actually dip a little bit. So it really has to do with how the markets react to what the Fed is doing. So
Interesting.
we'll probably see a little bit of a dip, a little bit when the Fed announces the Fed funds rate is going to go higher, but then you're going to start to see it move higher. Mortgage rates will start to trend really gradually over next year.
So can you let us know when the federal rate drops, so we can
Right,
have
yeah.
everybody call you that day?
Right. Well, yeah. It's and there's still it's a big question mark on what Fed meeting they're going to do that in. But so we'll see soon. But really, like I said, for clients that have are sitting on a 30-year fix that's over 4.5%, it will probably make sense to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that they got to pay a lot of fees to refinance, and I would probably say 96% of our transactions are no points, no closing costs.
Wow.
So
That's great.
where they don't have to pay any closing costs and they get to reduce down their monthly payment. We see a lot of people that are empty nesters, that kids are in high school, they're going to get ready to unload that house in 3 or 4 years. A lot of those people are going to adjustable rate mortgages. Yeah, because they're not going to have that house
Mortgage.
by the time
For
that
30
they go
years,
to
right.
they go to sell. So we're doing a lot of rates in the low to mid 3% range. Again, no closing costs, so that people can save a ton of money. So
Yeah.
when Johnny goes off to college and you're going to get out of that big house in the suburbs and head into the city, which is where everybody's going,
That is true.
you have more money to put down because you've saved more money on your mortgage. So yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities for people to refinance. One last thing is if people have PMI, private mortgage insurance, on their monthly statement, there's probably a very good chance that even if they don't have 20% equity, that they can drop that mortgage insurance. We can get rid of that mortgage insurance and
Wow,
save them
that's
money.
great.
So yeah, I would say there's a lot of times, and just really it takes a 10-minute phone call.
Okay.
No obligation, just a 10-minute phone call just to see if it makes sense to do it.
Absolutely.
And I know from experience too that if there is a loan for any reason that you aren't able to work on, you have other loan officers that you can refer to, like a
Right.
portfolio loan, for example.
Yeah,
so
I kind of want to be the point person for everything, and then if
Yeah.
I can't do it, I work with 5 different portfolio lenders that specialize in all different types of loans,
Right.
so that we can, I can refer them out, and they do business just like I do.
Right.
So
Right.
it's pretty important.
Again, going back to the team and having good referrals.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's not about the transactions, but the relationship is how
Absolutely.
I think we all run our businesses, which is pretty valuable.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, we're about out of time, so thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thank you, Rick.
Yes,
Really
no, thank you
appreciate
for
it.
this. This was great. I appreciate you guys and educating the public. You guys do a phenomenal job at that. So
We
thank
love
you.
to do that. That's what it's all about. So if you guys want to watch this video, you can see that, or you can get all of our information on www.careygattohomes.com. And your website, Rick?
Yep, yourmortgageplannerforlife.com.
Perfect. And you can actually apply right online.
You can.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.